Shillian, how can I help? What would be best for you today?
I think I need some guidance on like where to be focusing my energy right now.
Okay.
So I started my practice kind of like fast. I left my group practice over the summer and then just kind of went full force in, and I didn't find your resources until I'd already like done some things, like created my website, like started some marketing, but not a lot. And then so I was already kind of started, and then I'm like looking at your resources and I'm like, oh, it would be really great to start from the beginning here, but I like I'm kind of already in it. So
Mhm.
um one of the things I'm really struggling with, I think, is my niche, like,
Uh-huh.
or niche. I don't know how to say that word.
I looked it up. You can say it either way.
Great. Okay. Okay. Um, that's really a struggle for me because at my group practice, I just kind of took everything.
Hmm.
And now I'm like, what do I really need to like focus on here for marketing and
Yeah.
for my website too? So,
Hmm. Well, let's dig into that. That's fun. Um, what's like on the possibility list for you niche wise?
okay. So on the possibility list is teens, older kids.
Uh-huh.
Um, like 10 and up is kind of a good range. And young adults. I work a lot with anxiety and OCD, but I
Hmm.
also would like to include eating disorders, body image,
Hmm.
those types of things too.
Hmm.
Highly sensitive. um,
Yeah.
I I kind of find that those are all like most of my clients. I see those traits in most of them. So um, trying to think of other things. Like, yeah, highly sensitive, big feeling misunderstood type of
Hmm.
kids and teens.
Love it. Okay. So I've been working with eating disorders for 20 years, maybe more. I've never worked with somebody with an eating disorder who didn't also have anxiety.
Mhm.
So like you get that box checked. You talk about eating disorders. Um, OCD and like OC features for sure can
Mhm.
show up with eating disorders. Um, do you enjoy more like traditional eating disorders or more disordered eating, less severe?
Um, that's tricky. I think like in this area, maybe sometimes like the area that I'm in, I think sometimes um parents are a little bit like wary of the like eating disorder label, even though when like sometimes it really is like a true eating disorder, like it fits the criteria. So I think I've held myself back, especially where I worked before, where I didn't really like label that as a um concern that I would work with. And it was more of like disordered eating, body
Mhm.
image. But I really would be open to working with eating disorders and
Okay,
those types of clients. So
awesome. Is there anything in what you listed in terms of like what they're struggling with that feels like you're only putting it on the list because you should?
um I don't remember what I said.
You
Um,
said anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, HSP, big feelings, misunderstood.
I don't think so, but it just is like it seems too broad.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. I wouldn't call that a niche yet. I just want to make
yeah.
sure like sometimes people will be like um they'll throw trauma in there because they've been working with trauma and they're good at it and they care about clients with trauma, but it's not where they want their focus to be. So they put it on the list because they feel like they should. So that kind
Oh,
of thing.
yeah. I mean, I guess with the OCD, that might be something that I'm like putting on the list. I have the experience in it, and um, I like working with it, but it's just maybe not always exactly what I'm looking for.
Uh-huh. Okay. So we'll pop that one up. We're just going through like a series of elimination basically to help get it more honed and have it feel like, yes, that is the client I would love to see. When I think about my clients with eating disorders, especially like, well, I don't work with teenagers or kids, but when I did, there was a ideal parent presentation too. Um, can you tell me some about the ideal parent of your teenager with an eating disorder or disordered eating?
Um, yes, they would be like highly anxious themselves. I
Uh-huh.
often see that. Like so anxious themselves, um, really focused on their child's well-being,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes um, in ways that maybe aren't helpful.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
like getting like parent support, like needing parent support, but being really open to it.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and probably like busy. I think that just like busy parents that are dealing with that type of thing. So like wanting to do that, all the things that they need to do, but just like struggling to find the ways to do
Mm-hmm.
it effectively.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking about like, and I should also ask, is it typically a mom reaching
Mhm.
out? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm asking this because I'm thinking about like how do we market? Because it's usually the mom in the family who's reaching out for everybody's care, including her partners if he's male. Um, and so it's speaking to her experience of what it's like to watch your kids struggle, as well as like describing what that struggle looks like.
Mhm.
So from the like anxiety and eating disorder, I guess levels of each. Do you want the ideal teen client to be like more anxious with like moderate eating disorder or vice versa? What's the best mix for you?
That's tricky. I feel like so many of mine come in with the anxiety, and that's what other people see, but
Mm-hmm.
then the eating disorder is underlying it. So
Okay.
it's hard to know exactly if it's like the thing that
Yeah. But what
so
you just said though is the most valuable information, right? Like they're not seeking therapy for an eating disorder, these parents. They're seeking
yeah,
therapy for anxiety.
yeah.
And some of the like self-reproach that an eating disorder anxiety combo creates. So you can kind of like speak to the eating disorder stuff by talking about what they're actually seeing, even though they might not know that there's purging going on or restriction going on or binging going on.
Right.
So like the body image stuff they hear and see, you know? Okay, cool. So what is another way that you would describe your ideal client? Well, let me ask it this way. How would your ideal client's friends describe them?
Probably like high achieving, really smart, um, kind, um, caring, and like friends would probably describe them as confident.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. They're good
So
fakers, right? I mean, it's so adaptive. It's perfect. Uh-huh. Okay. And do you have a gender preference?
um, not necessarily. I mean, I
Okay.
think I do get more female, more girl clients, but no, I don't really have a preference.
Okay. So it sounds like as you describe it, I would say you have the niche of like I work with high achieving, kind, anxious teenagers who are really hard on themselves and don't often know what to do with their bigger feelings. Their parents are worried about them because they see how hard they push themselves. They see how they never give themselves a break. And um, that they don't seem to know how special and wonderful they are.
Yeah.
Boom. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that definitely sounds right.
Okay, you got a niche.
Yeah.
Okay, easy peasy. Now, how do we market to them? What
Yeah.
sounds good?
Yeah. Um, that's where I think I struggle sometimes, like marketing to the parents.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, the way you just worded it was really helpful. Um, so
Yeah, I think about like the way I talk to my mom friends when we're concerned about our kids, and like the laundry list of things that I will tell one of my best mom friends about what's going on with my kid. Like that's basically all you have to do on your homepage,
okay.
is like what they see, the daily lived experience of parenting this kid that you love more than anything, that you are so worried about, that you're worried your own like shit brushed off on, right? Because you're
Mhm.
highly anxious. And you can kind of call that out. Like you recognize a lot of your anxiety in your kid. Sometimes you feel guilty, like you've passed that on.
Mhm.
Um, and you haven't quite figured it out for yourself. So you don't always know how to support them in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like if you were their best mom friend, what would they be telling you? And how do you write that out in a way that continues to honor the teenager when they look at the website, right? Because there might be some things of some moms would say that the teenager would feel really like, I think it's a lot. Like that's how you see me. Um, but it sounds like your ideal parent is a lot more also sensitive and considerate than that other kind of presentation of parent.
Mhm.
But to just write it so that if the teenager saw your whole website, they'd be like, okay, I'm willing. Or thank God. And if the parent sees it, they feel like, oh, were you just in my coffee shop date that I was at? Um, and being sure that you're really speaking to the page, like have that page just for teenagers or kids, video preferably, right? So that they can consume you the way that they consume everything else. And speak to their pain in that video of like you're hard on yourself, you compare yourself constantly to everyone, and sometimes you feel like you're winning because you do work really hard, and sometimes you feel like you could never measure up.
Yeah.
Why even try?
Yeah, that's really helpful. I feel like I get like like I hear things like some of my clients say in sessions and I'm like that's what you're all kind of dealing with here.
Yeah.
But then by the time I like sit down to like work on it, the other part of my brain's like off, so I don't remember what it
Yeah,
is.
well, and it's like our grad school brains pop in whenever we're trying to write. Like until we get used to writing for private practice, it's just like either note self or grad school self, neither of which are very connective with our ideal clients.
Right. Right. It's just like very like clinical and like, and I don't want my website to be that way because I don't know if my clients would connect with it. So
They wouldn't. They really wouldn't.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is recorded. Like you are welcome to take any and every sentence I said. Take it, it's yours. Um, how else do you want to market?
So I've done a bit of like I've started out marketing and it's so not really my thing. I wasn't ever doing it at my group practice. So I like jumped in like September doing
Uh-huh.
this. Um, so I've reached out to a lot of the eating disorder treatment centers in the area. I've reached out to other clinicians nearby me,
Mm-hmm.
done like one-on-one type events. And I think one thing I didn't mention about my ideal clients, but they're perfectionists, so am I. So like I don't do anything until I'm like, oh, it has to be perfect. I did finally just like make marketing materials last month because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I have to have something when I'm going places. I can fix it later. Um, but I haven't really done any like send outs or just like general type of marketing, like warm letters or emails or anything like that.
Mhm. And I would say get in with those like eating disorder dietitians too. Um, that can be really good. Now, the ideal client we just described and the client coming out of an eating disorder treatment center are really different clients.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing like you're cool with the breadth of that.
Yeah.
But I want to think about where we find our ideal clients that we just talked about.
I think it probably school counselors
Mm-hmm.
are probably going to be able to notice some of these things too.
Yeah.
They're going to see the anxiety. So that's where I'm like headed next.
Do you know any school counselors personally?
No, um, well, like I know some that are probably not right in my area, so it's not necessarily the best. I I have tried to reach out to a couple like school social workers, I
Mhm.
think just about certain clients and maybe trying to like connect in that way. I think they're really, really busy
They're
for
so
moms.
busy.
So it's
Yeah.
so sometimes it's hard to get a response from them, even about like a client that I'm working with. So
Yeah.
uh, I know they're dealing with a ton.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's anybody in the school system, right, is going to be
Mhm.
overwhelmed. I really feel like school counselors are like one of the hardest groups to get in with. If you have an in, I would use it even if they're not close by and say, like, hey, do you know other school counselors near me and ask for an introduction? I think about that would be if the school counselor was noticing something, you get that referral, but like the parents see it every day.
Yeah.
So who do they talk to? They probably talk to their pediatricians, their kids' pediatricians. Um, it might be like, I don't know how you feel about public speaking, but talking at like the parent teacher association about like student anxiety
Hmm. Yeah.
could bring in a lot of people. I'm trying to think like I'm just imagining, I know like a million of these moms, right? Like
Hmm.
I know, like, really do know so many. And they're actively trying to reduce their own anxiety too. So they are in therapy often. So, like, people who work with adults, especially those people, there are a lot of people now niche to like women who look like they have it all together on paper, but are really anxious wrecks inside. So networking with them and being like, oh, hey, I see their kids. And that can be a great referral source back and forth. Because if you're seeing a kid and their parent doesn't have a therapist and you feel like it would be beneficial, then that's a great referral you can send out. But so few people work with kids and teens that like all the other therapists just need to know about you ultimately. Like, and it will be such a relief to them. And other eating disorder therapists, like, I don't see kids or teens at all. I'm terrible with them, but I get calls all the time because people assume when they hear eating disorder, they assume you see teenagers because I think in the layperson's mind, that's when you get an eating disorder.
Hmm.
So yeah, find those eating disorder therapists that only see adults and network with them. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to do more, um, like sometimes things fall through, like we'll have something scheduled with somebody and then it like fell through. I need to be like more proactive about reaching back out and
Yeah.
just be like, let's get this set up. Because there was some that you listed that I was like, okay, like they did. I did try to set something up with people and we just never had the follow through. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really feel like you're on the brink.
I am. But
Yeah.
I think I sometimes just need to like focus on one thing at a time.
Uh-huh.
So it's helpful to like find the niche and then like figure out copy for that and then
Hmm.
kind of like work through what's next.
Yeah. Is it, can you afford to spend December getting your website where you want it? Because now is a really hard time to reach out and network with people anyway, right?
Yeah.
So spend December getting all of your website assets where you want them and then start reaching out in early January for
Oh yeah.
networking.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
absolutely. I just need to break down that list. I'm bad about like trying to do everything at the same time. So
I very much relate. Yes. Yeah.
That's-
We are our ideal clients, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I am. So I'm like, okay, it's not ready yet. So I'm just gonna give up and move on.
I also want to say though, like you said, I'm a perfectionist. I wait until everything's perfect. But what I've heard from you is that like maybe you're a recovering perfectionist. There's a lot that you've done in the private practice realm to like not give into that in order to start getting clients. So props to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I have challenged myself in a lot of ways. I think I, like I said, my ideal would have been finding your resources and then doing all of that before actually making the jump. But that's not how it worked out, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. It will
Not
all
like-
work out. Yeah.
So I'm doing what I can
Good.
every day. But
Perfect. Yeah. That's great. Yay. Anything else you can think of? Oh, good. I'm glad.
I guess like for a website, like, and you kind of spoke to like, you know, reaching the parents and kind of focusing on that, and then having separate pages and services for the other things that I offer that maybe aren't like within that like niche, but are extended, related. Like I do work with parents, um, hopefully separately from their kids. So it's kind of like when
Mhm.
they're teenagers, but I do work with parents who are parenting kids with anxiety too. So just how to like make the services page seem cohesive to my homepage too.
Yeah. You could have, so like your services could have 4 teens, and that's where you do your video for teenagers. And then you could have one that says for parents, and that's where you could talk about how hard it is to watch your kids suffer and to feel like that looks really familiar. And you want to maybe do it differently than your parents did it. And help your kid through this in a way that you weren't helped through it. And that while you have all sorts of like space to hear about what their experience has been, your focus will be on how they can parent their child and a way to get their child through the anxiety faster. Or maybe not faster, but get their child coping with the anxiety in ways that feel better for everyone in the family. I love how like adding the word faster to anything to do with anxiety. Like, not the right word.
It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Okay. And some parents I think are, you know, hoping for that because
Yeah,
it
for sure.
feels you know, it's obviously their kids not doing great, so they want that, but I'll try to not use that word.
Yeah.
It's helpful overall. And I can't promise it either. So
Right.
but okay. That that is very helpful. Um do you think it would be like for you mentioned pediatricians? I'm like jumping to another topic, but pediatricians and reaching out to them, is there like a best way to do that? I've read on the group, I've read like everyone just kind of being like it's kind of hard sometimes to get into the
Yeah.
pediatrician's office. Again,
Yeah.
they're busy.
Do you have kids?
I don't.
Okay. Then what I would do, excuse me, is reach out and like call pediatricians' offices, ask how to get in touch with the referral coordinator for the office.
Okay.
And they'll either transfer you or give you an email address. Before that, go ahead and write out, because I think you and I are similar. Go ahead and write out what you want to say, because it needs to be really brief for the referral coordinator. Because they're used to that medical model speak that's like, so basically say, you know, hey, I'm a therapist specializing in teenagers, like older kids and teenagers with anxiety and some disordered eating or eating disorders. I wanted to know how to get on your referral list. And that's really it. And then they tell you. So the fact that you have these specialties of anxiety and eating disorders will make you feel a lot more in demand for them. Like they will need you more than if you were like, I'm a therapist who works with teenagers,
Yeah.
right? Because they're like, yeah, we've got a bunch of those. But the anxiety and the eating disorders are in high need these days. So, yeah.
And then I think one other question I have, which I kind of already know the answer to, I just wanted to ask about it, was I work in a solo, it's just me, right?
Mhm.
But in like next to my neighbor, I work in a place where my neighbor is a psychologist and a therapist. The person I share a suite with, it's a therapist. Would it be helpful to try to market sometimes together or like go around? We have like similar needs with like kids and teens, but working with different issues. Um, so would it be helpful to go together sometimes?
I think it'd be more confusing to the people because,
Okay.
like, I wouldn't advise just like going to a doctor's office and leaving pamphlets, right?
Yeah.
They just go into the recycle. So I think it'd be more confusing. I think instead, like, y'all could just refer to each other depending on what the needs of the kid are. So, yeah, that's what I'd do.
That's what we often do, but I didn't know if it'd be um yeah, confusing for people
Yeah,
to be like, wait, where are you? You all have different names. Like,
right. Are you guys like in a practice together? Or you're separate? I think just yeah, doing your own things and cheering each other on is probably the best way to go.
God,
Awesome. Well, it was great to meet you.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Really love all the resources and use them every day. So
Yay, I love that. You're gonna blow up soon. I think it's just getting things into the proper order for yourself so it's not overwhelming and reaching out to network not in December and it'll be great. Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.